If you're at all familiar with the book, The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, you may very well recall that one of the laws relates to this idea of saying always less than is necessary when one speaks on a given topic. And I don't really care about power, so I'm not going to try and say less and appear more enigmatic and mysterious and draw people's attention towards me as a result of engaging in such a way. So, yeah, I'm going to, as a way of introducing what I want to talk about as a kind of segue to it, just gonna basically say considerably more than is necessary about the previous video, quote unquote, that I released. The Laughing Jesus, which is like a creative reading of a book, The Laughing Jesus, with my own sort of sub layer of stream of consciousness, poeticized commentary. And so basically the idea behind that is the sort of internal conflict that I have within myself regarding the teachings of not just this Jesus character, more specifically the Gnostic Jesus character, but the teachings of such teachers in general, which are very similarly orientated, specifically when it comes to more Gnostic ideas, and kind of regarding those who espouse these teachings as being sort of in some way Pied Piper characters, as well, with the idea in mind that this realm is undesirable, right? It's undesirable for one to be incarnated within it. So, in the vein of these Gnostic teachings, why would one want to merge themselves with it, to become one with it? And whoever is suggesting, beseeching them that they do so, to follow them in such a fashion is not to be trusted, right? They're not, they're a wolf in sheep's clothing, and so that's what that's about. This internal conflict, this, between this part of myself, one of my dissociative identity authors, right? And I don't actually have dissociative identity disorder. I'm using that to sort of refer to this how should I put it? Idea that I've previously expressed of having myself, but sort of also observing in others, having multiple selves, myriad selves, a multiplicity of selves, that there isn't something concrete within one that one can call themselves, that there's multiple different personalities exhibiting multiple seemingly contradictory modes of behavior. And for myself, one of these authors is, I guess, a kind of perennialist Gnostic. And in case you're not familiar with what perennialism is, basically it's the idea that we can, if we observe throughout time and throughout various cultures in their spiritual and religious teachings, there's a similar core idea at the center of them that we can identify, and that idea is that all is one, and that any sense or perception of there being duality to experiences an illusion that one can dispel, that one can overcome, to see through, and in doing so, which will result in them settling into their true identity, which is God, the totality of all perceivable reality, Brahma, the one, the all, source. You get the idea, I think. And also, basically, kind of, it goes along with that, if not entirely with that, my, at least with my altar's perception of it, this perennialist Gnostic altar, in tandem with their general view and understanding of what perennialist Gnosticism is, they also have this idea of the nature of this one, of the all, being non-material in nature, of being something more so ethereal, more akin to mind, consciousness, that reality has the substance of a dream. It's not something solid. Though it may, of course, appear to be entirely solid, that is simply merely a perception. Much the same way that similar illusions can be generated in our own immediate experience of life by adorning something such as a haptic suit, which can, in the same way, simulate reality in a remarkably convincing way. And so, I guess these ideas come into conflict with another altar of mine that perceives, I suppose, it's also in some way a perennialist Gnostic, but they also perceive that reality is, they observe the contents of this reality, and in doing so, consistently draw the same conclusion that the contents, which are remarkably, overwhelmingly negative, indicate what the real sort of telos of this reality is, as also being something profoundly negative and unfavorable to whosoever is unfortunate enough to be conscious and aware within it, and as a result suffers the consequences of that. And try as I might, these are two very irreconcilable ideas, right? if reality is profoundly negative in nature, if it is as the this particular author sort of begins to, in a speculative fashion, extrapolate, perceive that this is not, well, the nature of this mind, the mind, or that this reality is, and that who that mind belongs to is a nefarious agent. They are a demiurge, a femiurge, and if that is the case, why would someone wish to merge fully with that? Is that not simply kind of a ruse, right? It's a deception to take the self, which in this model here that I'm presenting is not an illusion, as the teachings of these various Pied Piper gurus throughout the ages would like you to believe. But it is actually something real and distinct from this reality, that you do, in fact, possess free will, and that there is something significant and unique and of importance about you in particular. And that is why there's this push for you to be subsumed by it, into this reality, to become fully of this reality. Of course, meditation and yoga and so on, all which are sort of methodologies that are oriented towards achieving such a thing, have certainly in Western culture been very much championed and endorsed in recent times. It's sort of become something of a as common as watching TV, or it's become kind of just a household staple thing, that everyone and their mother is doing, basically. And so what's the common thing we see with people who have supposedly attained this state, right? This state of enlightenment. What do they commonly say, right? They say that free will is an illusion, that the self is an illusion, that there is only this one will, God's will. And yeah, I suppose the punchline of all this, what I'm building up to, is the idea that this is potentially how one might go about becoming an NPC. To shed selfhood, to just become a something that is entirely of this realm, that is written into the very code of this realm, of this experience, and has no autonomy, agency separate to and or distinct from that. They're an empty vessel. The sense of being someone has dissolved. and I guess, I don't know, where has that gone? I don't know. Just an idea that I think about quite a lot, and wanted to try and explain here, kind of probably fairly badly, but I've covered the main points. It's just not necessarily entirely presented them in an entirely coherent way, but I may be wrong. It may be comprehensive enough, but yeah, okay. Just some ideas. Thanks for listening. Yeah, so I'm just editing the video now, and a couple of things have occurred to me that I wanted to just address, and also, I guess, do sort of a summary, just to, cover what was missed in the incoherency. So, so basically, I mean, overall, the point of what I'm saying is that the making a comparison between the state of being that the so-called enlightened person reports to be in, and the NPC, basically suggesting that it very well may well be one and the same thing. Particularly what most pertinently to me in this regard, as an example, was Yuji Krishnamurti. Some of the rhetoric he employed, sort of referring to himself as being a puppet, and that there being no one there, right? No one to call a person. That when he was speaking, there was no one speaking, there was just speaking happening, right? And that when people asked him if he was happy, then he would respond with something like, I don't know if I'm happy or not, because there's not a person here to answer that question. There's no person here to be happy or not happy. And so I think you see what I'm getting at there. I didn't really give much of an example in the video itself as to what sort of this enlightened perspective kind of resembled. And I'm also kind of just looking now at the image that I'm using as well, and it's like reminding me of what this NPC character looks like in the meme, at least, right? And I mean, of course, it's strikingly obvious that it looks very much like a Buddhist monk, right? Which is kind of fitting, very fitting to this topic of discussion. Yeah, I think that's it, what I wanted to say. All right. Yeah, and it's also just occurred to me as well that at the beginning of the video, when I'm talking about, when I refer to the Gnostic teachings, for the most part there, that's approaching them from this perennialist Gnostic position, wherein what I mean by Gnostic teachings are the core, essential teachings of a variety of religions and spiritual traditions. So I'm kind of alluding to Buddhism and its various schools, as well as Christianity, Judaism, Taoism, the Hermetic teachings, and so on. But then also when I'm using the word Gnosticism elsewhere, when I'm employing that term, I'm also referring to, I guess, what I would call emanationist, dualistic Gnosticism, which would be one of the positions held by one of my other dissociative identity authors, but so I hope that isn't too confusing and doesn't muddy the waters of discussion too much and obstruct the comprehension of the point that I'm trying to make. But yeah, I just thought I should try and clarify that there.